We have a 65-year-old couple that wants to retire in 2 years at 67, and they have $700,000 saved for retirement. Can they do it? Hey guys, this is Rise in Retirement. I'm Jett. He's Taco, financial advisors here at W.A. Smith Financial Group, and today we are bringing a case that's a little dicey. We talk about red light, yellow light, green light on this show a lot, whether you can do it or not. Do you have enough saved? Bob and Beth here, age 65, want to retire at age 67, and we're giving them a red light here. And we'll go through some of the examples as to why, but why don't we discuss some of the details of this case and where did they go wrong here?
Yeah, let's start with the numbers and why the red light's there.
Okay.
And then maybe we can talk about, kind of some of the paths they chose that got them in this situation. So Bob and Beth came in, they wanted to, kind of threw out a number at us and said, hey, we need $100,000. We need $100,000 net
per year
to live off of for their monthly or for their annual expenses. The only income that they will have coming in in retirement is Social Security income. Between the two of them, it's $5,000
at 67.
At 67, full retirement age for them. So it's $5,000 coming in, which is $60,000. They have a $100,000 net income need, which we've grossed that up to be $120,000 to account for taxes, because the bulk of their money is there's going to be some tax liabilities there. So we have at the end of the day, we have a $5,000 per month or $60,000 gap shortfall, which equates to be over an 8% withdrawal rate on their money. Yeah. So that's the red light.
That's why we're giving them a red light. That withdrawal rate's a little bit too high. They're going to have some issues potentially depending on market situations, downturns in the market, unpredictable expenses that pop up in addition to the monthly need. Healthcare could become a factor. Think about inflation, cost of living, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And they're only 2 years away from the desired
not
date.
A lot of time.
The desired date. So let's go there. So the desired date, 67, what we found is it's really being pushed by one of them, right?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily something that as a couple they decided, hey, let's go retire at 67, 2 years, and we're going to go do this, we're going to go do that. Here's how we're going to spend our time. What's the situation look like?
Yeah, here's the backstory. So Beth, she actually retired a few years ago, and she did that because she hated her job, and she was stressed out, and she had to be done with it. So she retired, and she was bored out of her mind at home, and we've seen this so often. She didn't retire because she was ready to retire. She retired because she hated her job. And so she went back to work, but this time she couldn't get the same type of employment. She was unemployable in the career that she had, and she went back to work for a retail company that paid her about a fourth of what she was making before. Now, on the other hand, Bob, the husband, he loves his job. And what we learned in the Retirement Tune-Up Financial Review when they came and sat down for that first appointment was Bob's kind of just along for the ride. It's being driven by Beth. Beth wants Bob to retire. Bob likes his job. He doesn't really want to retire yet. And he even went as far as to say, well, guys, if I retire, I'm not even sure what I would do. I don't even know what I would do with my time. So there's a little bit of a wedge here between these two.
Yeah. And they have an advisor. However, what they have found with that is there's really no communication. They're not able to have these conversations. And, we think to our retirement tune-up, and when somebody comes in for a review, we don't just talk the numbers. Yeah. It's making sure that we identify what's going to be your purpose in retirement. And so that was where that came out is, Bob, what are you guys going to do? Yep. You've been working your entire life. You love what you're doing. What are you going to do? And that's where he couldn't answer. He had no idea what he was going to do. So I think it's key that we look back at what happened to Beth. I worry personally that same thing will happen to Bob.
You mean that he'll get bored? Want to go back to work?
Bored. He'll want to go back to work. He'll take a massive pay cut to what he was making in his job that he loves right now. And so, where did they potentially go wrong a little bit to get him on this red light path? I think it starts with what Beth did, without having a plan in place first. It
Yeah.
was kind of an emotional knee-jerk reaction. I don't like my job, I quit. But it was a good paying job, and they weren't completely in a financial situation to where they could lose her income, and they didn't have the assets built up to replace that income.
Well, I mean, it could happen to anyone. It might not be you're having a bad day and you've hit your wits end and you quit. It could be you're let go early.
Yeah.
Company downsizes. Companies have mergers and acquisitions. New management comes in. Could be a healthcare situation that forces you out. So, I mean, that's a reality that almost anyone could face and find themselves in a similar position to Bob and Beth, where they didn't really have a plan. They were waiting until they got closer to retirement to build one. So we can't stress enough about being proactive with that. But, they came in, they said they just want a plan. And all of a sudden now they want a plan because they have a target, at least Beth does, for the both of them. And they don't feel like they have one right now with their advisor. They also told us that they go to a lot of seminars. So you get these invitations in the mail, free meal enticements, and usually advisors are out there selling you something, some sort of financial product or some shiny object. And so they kind of got screwed a little bit in one of those where they made a purchase on something that was sold that they're upset with now too, and that's the advisor they're working with.
Well, and this is a couple who doesn't have the disposable assets to just go buy a product, and that's what they did, and an illiquid one at that.
It was a long-term care type of product.
At the end of the day, hurts them even more because it's eating into some of the assets that they're going to need to generate income. And again, they were sold a product by somebody who wasn't looking out in their best interest. It was a product salesman.
Let's talk about what they got to do. So we give Bob and Beth a red light here. We say, hey, if you retire at age 67, based on your withdrawal rate, based on some of these things that we talked about as far as Bob not really wanting to retire yet, Beth's driving that decision a little bit. There's some red flags here that lead us to that determination of, hey, and think twice about this. What are some of the things we might suggest they do to get it on into that yellow light or even a green light type of phase? Where would you start?
So the very first starting point for us, and this is again as part of our retirement tune-up, is to look at the budget.
Okay.
Let's sanity check this thing, because as we got into the details, it was kind of like, we need $100,000. What's the basis for that? They didn't have a detailed budget of how they were spending $100,000. It was kind of just, that's what we anticipate that we're going to need in retirement, with really no basis behind it. So I start there, Jett, and I say, okay, where's the $100,000 going? And if it's truly all there and we can account for it, what are we willing to potentially, have to scale back on a little bit to get us back on track, to make sure that either A, we can start plugging more money away for these next 2 years while Bob's working to save more. Mm-hmm. Maxing out the 401k, putting some money aside in post-tax money, things of that nature to help their situation. Or B, hey, we get to retirement, what maybe we're going out to eat too much, maybe we're shopping too much, whatever it may be. What expenses can be cut a little bit? And I know nobody wants to cut back, but in their situation, having that red light, that's where we got to start, is the budget.
Do we talk to them at all about pushing that retirement age or target back?
So that's the next, to me, that's the next step is, again, Bob likes what he's doing, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't know what he's going to do in retirement. I've seen individuals, Jett, maybe even go to your employer and say, hey, I'm thinking about, I want to scale back a little bit. Maybe Bob can meet in the middle with Beth a little bit and find a role within his current company that still pays him good.
Gives him a little bit more time.
And give a little more flexibility with that. But again, if he's loving what he's doing, then the opportunity to work for, let's say, 3 more years beyond that, get to age 70, that's going to bump Social Security up, so that income that will come in for the longevity goes up by 8% a year at the end of the day. So that helps their situation. Plus, it buys them more time to continue to save. So, I think it could be a combination of budget, scaling back, saving more, and then potentially, delaying this retirement thing a little longer until you really have purpose.
Yeah. So this is Rise in Retirement. We cover a lot of case examples like this. If you've got a retirement scenario, you want to see, hey, I've got a certain amount of money. Here's my target timeline. You want us to cover it right here in a live example on Rise in Retirement, drop your information in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit that bell notification so that you're alerted of all of these as they come through. And if you want even more video education, click on the link in the description below. Become an insider, a Send 360 Insider. It is a weekly video email series that's delivered to your inbox every Thursday morning. Awesome information on there. We will see you next time on Rise in Retirement.